movies really are a powerful medium. With the ability to transport viewers to far-off lands, different realities, and see epic feats of power, it's easy to understand why so many of us flock to the movies. When a movie goes above and beyond, we tend to remember them for being just so great. Whether it's the perfect directing or great cast, the great ones just always seem to stand out. But we can't forget that there's no such thing as the perfect movie, as mistakes happen in literally every single one. Usually, these mistakes are forgivable. Half the time you wouldn't even notice them until some lovable movie know-it-all on YouTube points them out for you. For this, we apologize.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Here are CBR's 10 movies with one mistake that ruined everything. Blown away by our awesome content? Hit that subscribe button for even more sweet content coming your way. The Dark Knight Rises. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight Rises is certainly a flawed masterpiece. Giving fans a satisfying conclusion to the gritty and grounded Batman trilogy is no small feat, and we think the film is certainly good, but it did have a few errors, such as misspelling heist and some unanswered plot holes about how Bruce got back to Gotham. Despite those examples, the film did make one flat-out big mistake that made no sense to any of us. Alfred retreats to Italy to begin a life on his own after the supposed death of Bruce Wayne and Batman in the nuclear blast. Society still hasn't made the connection, but it's fair to say that Bruce Wayne, playboy billionaire, is still pretty well known to people despite being in the shadow of the Caped Crusader. So just how is it that Bruce Wayne can sit in an open cafe outdoors and have no one recognize him? It's quite baffling and makes little sense that one of the most celebrated billionaires on the planet goes about his day as though he was an average Joe.
But that's Bruce Wayne! Mr. Wayne! Mr. Wayne!
That'd be like Bill Gates drinking at a cafe without anybody batting an eye. Maybe we're just too big a fan, but we think it's just impossible. Bruce Wayne would be way too recognizable, having likely been plastered on magazines all over and the internet.
How'd they even get one of these things started?
Jurassic World. Jurassic World was a fun return to form for those beloved dinosaur adventure films. It made a killing at the box office, and promises to be one of the first of at least 2 more films in what is sure to be a fun and epic trilogy. In the first film, the Indominus Rex breaks out of her habitat and begins wreaking havoc across the tropical island of Isla Nublar, the same island from the first Jurassic Park film. The Indominus chases brothers Zack and Grav, the film's 2 protagonists, to the site of the very first park. There, they dig up some handy tools and work on restoring one of the old Jeeps to get back over to the new site. There's only one problem though. We can't get over the fact that the Jeep gets restored by these 2 miners, even though the Jeep itself is over 20 years old.
What?
And how the heck did the gasoline inside that old car get it moving after all this time? In the real world, there was no way that Jeep was ever leaving that compound. And, you know, if it didn't, the 2 boys would have been trapped there, stranded, and the movie would have definitely played out much differently. The Bourne Identity. We are eternally grateful for the first Bourne movie, the very foundation for what is arguably one of the best action trilogies in recent decades. Identity would set up the Bourne character
Jason Bourne.
and give us some sweet action and set pieces along the way. One of the better-known action scenes was the hand-to-hand fight scene in Bourne's Paris apartment. In that scene, Bourne is ambushed by the blonde-haired assassin Castel, who comes swinging through the windows from the roof. But later in the scene, we see that Castel had taken out the landlord that helped Bourne into the apartment in the first place. So if Castel took out the only person near the door, why didn't he just go up the stairs and crash through the door in the front? And if he didn't want to do that, what was the point of shooting the landlord if he was just going to end up back on the roof anyway? Castel's plan makes no sense if you think about it, and would probably have better luck if he used a sniper from across the street. Jason had this down to a T in Supremacy, and it's not like his Paris apartment windows were tiny or anything.
You take the red pill, I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The Matrix. The Matrix, without a doubt, changed the game back in 1999. The new technology and mind-blowing story not only spawned 2 sequels and an upcoming prequel, but also saw a slew of imitators and spoofs make use of the Matrix brand in the early 2000s. Yet, despite its claim to fame and critical success, there's one huge problem that ruins the whole movie. It's established in the film that to plug back into the Matrix, one needs an operator like Tank, Dozer, or Link. These operators, like all those on the crew, can read the code of the Matrix once somebody is jacked in to monitor their activity. So how is it that Cypher was able to boot himself into the Matrix without help and without anyone noticing in the code that he was having dinner with an agent? And not just any agent either, the one and only Agent Smith.
You scared the bejesus out of me.
By Matrix logic, he would have needed an operator who would have instantly put a monkey wrench right in his plans.
Will always remember as the day that you...
Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's be honest, the first Pirates of the Caribbean film was pure gold. Johnny Depp's portrayal as Jack Sparrow earned him an Oscar nomination, and the film would go on to get 4 more sequels, with the 5th entry due in 2017. But one little mistake in the first film almost ruined all those potential sequels. In the film's final action scene, Jack and Barbossa engage in a duel with no end in sight, as both men are cursed and therefore immortal.
That's interesting.
Before it's revealed that Jack is also cursed, Barbossa stabs Jack right through the chest. Later on, Jack shoots Barbossa right through the chest. Both of these moments occur before Will Turner drops the gold back into the chest, but only Barbossa dies from his wounds. By the film's logic, Jack should have also succumbed to his wounds. Leave it to Jack Sparrow to cheat death while already being cursed. X-Men Origins Wolverine. We already know that X-Men Origins Wolverine isn't the most popular superhero film out there. It made poor use of Deadpool and ruined the X-Men continuity even more. All this placed on top of a just mediocre story. But the story could have been a lot different due to a certain mutant's superpowers. In the film, Lynn Collins plays Silver Fox, whose ability is to be able to give commands to people just by touching them. She shows this power off numerous times in the movie, including telling Strider to keep walking at the end of the movie.
Until your feet bleed.
Yet Silver Fox was working for Strider because she was holding her sister hostage. If Fox had the power to dictate people's minds, why didn't she just go about changing some minds to release her sister and herself from the clutches of the military? She could have then just gone about her life with Logan and none of this would have happened. I guess some people are just out looking for trouble.
The impact must have awoken me from hypersleep.
Toy Story. The film that launched the Pixar revolution, Toy Story, became one of the most beloved films of all time. The story in question gave us a peek into the lives of what really happens to all our toys when we leave them alone. They come to life, have issues of their own, and go about their daily lives before ultimately freezing back into the last place their owner found them. So how is it that the Buzz Lightyear who thinks he's a real spaceman
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
That wasn't flying!
always freezes back into position whenever Andy comes back into the room? Shouldn't he be like, "Danger! Unknown life force has entered the vicinity! Take cover, my little plastic friends!" We know toys can break their own laws and still talk to people. Case in point, Sid. But we think Andy would probably have gone into therapy if Buzz actually said something to him.
Hey, I admit it. My fault.
Iron Man 3. Of the 3 solo Iron Man films, the third one is certainly the most polarizing. Some fans claim it's the best one, for its grounded and sincere look at Tony's life post-Wormhole. Others think it ultimately ruined one of the best villains in comic book lore, the Mandarin.
Where's the Mandarin? Where is it?
But whichever stance you might take, there's no denying that there's one mistake in the movie that changes everything once you know about it. The success of the whole movie rested on the shoulders of Rhodes, who eventually upped and joined the fight, becoming a very valuable companion and ally to Iron Man. Only, what if the backup suit didn't fit Rhodes? It's pretty handy that Tony's suit comes in a one-size-fits-all style, otherwise the bad guys would have more than likely won and Pepper Potts would have definitely died along with the president. Speaking of the president, he was also comfortably wearing an Iron Man suit. Could it be that they're somehow made stretchy even though they're still made out of metal? Also, the president was in danger. You'd have to think that the Cap would have been there in an instant to help a buddy out, but nope.
I must be out of my mind.
Back to the Future. Everybody knows of the famous rule in Back to the Future. You gotta drive at 88 miles an hour and the DeLorean will do its thing and bring you, wait for it, Back to the Future. But there's a problem here that made us scratch our heads. In the film, Marty and Doc know that the lightning will strike at 10:04, which is their window of opportunity to use the electricity to get the car through time. They have everything set up to catch the lightning, but there's just one huge problem. The pair needed to know exactly when the lightning was gonna strike.
Exactly 7 minutes and 22 seconds.
But the big clock didn't have a second hand. So in other words, they have a 1 in 60 chance of actually pulling off this mission. They had no idea that lightning would strike at exactly 10:04. For all they knew, they'd have to wait another 30 seconds in anticipation. Even if by a miracle they could pull it off, lightning only lasts a second long, so being fast enough to time everything to a T is kind of impossible, even for Marty and Doc.
Oh dear.
Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. There's no denying the power of Star Wars. Despite the fact that the series does have a few rocky patches here and there,
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
It is safe to say that it's well loved by millions across the globe. Those fans will agree that the changes made in the special editions were largely unneeded and unpopular, but maybe George Lucas should have tweaked Han Solo's breakout in Return of the Jedi a little bit. The plan in Jedi was to break out Han by slowly infiltrating Jabba's palace, first with Lando, the droids, Leia, and Chewie, and finally, Luke. Leia was tasked with the actual extraction of Han by taking him out of carbon freeze, but this is where the massive problem occurs. If Luke and Leia actually did successfully bust Han out of the palace, Chewie would still be imprisoned and the droids would be subject to slavery. Sure, maybe Lando would have busted them out eventually, but that's a lot of extraction for just one guy. We think it's a good thing this plan ultimately failed. Maybe Luke should just have gone in alone.
Says that they insist on outside opinions.
Those are our picks for 10 movies with one mistake that ruined everything. What did you think of our list? Did these problems actually ruin the movies for you? Or can you look past them and accept their flaws? Or even forget about them altogether? What's the one problem that really grinds your gears? Whatever you think, let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with CBR's Notification Squad. Thanks for watching.